Well, now I want to turn to Mr. Bob Gelmacher, who is going to talk to us this evening about maybe a strange subject for some people. I'm very interested in it because I really believe that we're looking at a real monumental, maybe too strong a word, but I'll use it, change in how we are in our model railroading. And I think it's going to come from AI. So, Bob, I'm really looking forward to your presentation.
Okay, this is going to be a relatively short presentation, and I'll say up front that I used AI to generate the information that I'm going to present. So I can't sit here and try to debate a lot of the issues with you. If you want to debate, I'll give you the uh, address of the computer, and you can talk to the computer about that. But as it turns out, my daughter Janice works for a major AI player here in the greater Washington area. And I asked her about this. So she also helped to generate this information. And I'll say up front, one of the biggest issues that she says that they face with AI, and I think it's AI across the board, is the trust factor. Uh, Most of us don't have a problem with AI in terms of if it crashes one of our trains or does something like that, it's not the end of the world. However, if it were to start a nuclear war, that's an entirely different issue. And it's something that a lot of people are concerned about is can you put AI in place and then trust it to basically run things? So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully all will go well. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I put the question mark there is because I have a feeling that this is such a um, new territory for us, especially from the model railroading standpoint, that we all have different conceptions of what AI is all about. I know when I first started down this path, one of the things that I thought about was watching the movie War Games, where the young guy goes in and actually accesses a military computer that does a lot of simulations and starts down the path of basically nuclear conflagration with the entire world. And the best thing that comes out of that movie is the last line where, the best move is maybe the first move is maybe no move at all. So the question is going to remain when we talk about this stuff is whether or not we want to get actively involved with AI and whether or not and I'm looking around at the screen, almost all of us are of an older generation, are going to actively embrace AI if we find out that AI will really work for us. As it turns out, in our world today, AI is very prevalent. And here's a list of different areas that AI has already been used in. A lot of the major search engines that are out there, like Facebook and Alexa, Siri, they're all using AI. Matter of fact, I know really well that Alexa is tuned into AI because it has kind of focused in on the fact that I use a lot of resin printing, or a lot of resin for my printing. Amazon Alexis. You can access Alexa speakers for free from any Alexa enabled device. And if you have an Alexa sitting close by to you, as soon as you say her name, she comes on. But anyway, um, I'm going to say it quietly. Alexa knows that I use a lot of resin when I do my 3D printing, and she's also starting to focus in on how often I buy resin. So periodically, I get a little message saying it's time to buy more resin or it's time to buy more filament. And if you're trying to keep something like that secret from your wife, she doesn't allow you to do that really well. But they also a lot of the other search engines that are out there, and you can see a list of them are here. And really, if you start defining what artificial intelligence it's all about, it's really the intelligence of machines versus the intelligence of humans. And the fact that machines can learn. And that's the whole trick, is that if we could build machines with appropriate software and the appropriate sensors, and we'll talk a little bit about the sensors in a little bit, where the machine could actually pick up on things that are happening around it and then learn and become more intuitive and more uh, educated, that's where AI is going to take us. Um, so the question is, what is the potential for AI in our model railroading? And again, I went to the source and so did my daughter went to the source for Chat GPT. So I don't know whether this is like letting the fox in the hen house or not, because AI is telling us how good AI can be, and whether or not we're going to believe that remains to be seen. And these are some of the things that it said that it could do. Uh, Doing advanced automated control systems. This would be particularly good on mainline routes, and also when we have yards where we want to be able to do switching through those yards. One thing I'll point out is in the majority of the things, and I have about 11 points that I'm going to go across quickly, is in the majority of these issues, I found that we already can do these things. For instance, in the automated control systems, and we've had Kevin Hunter on the show a couple of times, and Kevin has designed circuits that basically do all that routing automatically for you. So you can already do a lot of it, and I think AI could probably enhance that. uh, Preventative maintenance and predictive maintenance. And to me, right now, of all the things on the list, this is one of the things that I think might be the most beneficial, is that if there could be a system that would somehow monitor our layouts, monitor our rolling stock, monitor our engines, and be able to come back and tell us this is the time where that maintenance should be done on those particular pieces. I think that would be very beneficial, because I know in a lot of my ON30 stuff, sometimes it sits for years before I actually put any oil on it. So it might be good to get a little bit of a nudge like that, where it would help us out with that. Um, Realistic behavior simulations, where if it could monitor the way things act in real life, they could then come back and say, let me apply that to your layout. So whether it would be the control of our switches, whether it would be speed control, that would be all done automatically, and we would not have to have a lot to do with it. Voice and gesture controls, to be able to articulate what we want the layout to do without actually having to touch anything. For instance, on my layout, I have Alexa set up so that I can go in and say, Alexa, trains on. And just the fact that I said that, the Alexa that's right next to me just turned my layout on. And for folks that are not initiated in model railroading, when they come down and I do that and everything lights up, that's really a wow factor. Again, already doing that, but even could be enhanced with AI. Uh, Layout design optimization. If we could put into a program the parameters of the space that we have, the type of design that we were looking for, and other constraints, then AI could go out and find out what others have done similar to that, and then come back and give us a design that might meet our needs. To do realistic scenery generation. Again, to go out and for AI to look across the spectrum of possible scenes in areas that we are interested in, and then come back and tell us exactly what it is we ought to be doing to make that scene better, and the types of materials that we would need in order to build that scenery. Um, Object and image recognition. On the layout, if the AI could take and notice buildings or notice things that are on the track or track side, and then control the way our trains are running based on the things that it is seeing, that again might result in realistic operation. Adaptive speed controls. Uh, we all have, I'm sure except for Jim, I think he said he doesn't have DCC, but a lot of times in DCC, you can actually control momentum and things like that, but AI could step in and do that for us. Simulation and testing, and I think that's pretty important too, is that it's nice to know that the layouts that we put together and the layouts that we're building are actually going to work the way we want them to work. And to be able to do that through software, and I know a lot of software is out there to do it automatically, but have AI to be able to take a look at what we're doing and take a look to tell us whether or not it's right or wrong, and things that we could do to make it better would be very beneficial. Custom model creation. I know we just watched what Jeff was doing with his modeling, and to put the parameters into a program that could spell out exactly the materials that we would need and how to optimize a particular building that we're trying to build. And interactive storytelling. I have a friend down on the Eastern Shore that has created an entire world around his layout. And he's got stories for every one of his buildings. He's got stories for almost every person that he's got on the layout. But if we could put in even the basic parameters and then have AI create a story for us, which could be pages long, might be another wow factor for people that are coming in, not only for us model railroaders, but also just the general public. So here's a list of some of the things that AI and machine learning thinks it could do for us from a model railroading standpoint. But the question is, do we really want it to do that? What it's going to take to get there? Number one is, of course, we're going to need computers and hardware that's going to be able to interpret all this information that we're putting into it, or interpret all the information that AI is pulling into itself from its environment and its surroundings, and being able to generate that story or be able to generate that maintenance list that we were talking about. It's going to take software, and that software has to be generated in order to be able to learn in its environment. And then sensors, because the system has to be able to sense what it's doing, where it is, and how it's doing it, and for it to interpret all that, and then again to create the environment that we're looking for. And I think for a lot of us, it's going to take a lot of imagination. I personally am not 100% sold on AI yet. And I have a feeling that our generation of model railroaders, it might be a little tougher to make that leap of faith in order to allow AI to run it. Where I think for the younger generations, like Ethan, the young fellow that won the scholarship this year, it might be easier for those guys to relate to the AI environment, to be able to utilize that environment and to best achieve the results that they're looking for. AI came back with this, and it says these apps demonstrate the potential of AI and machine learning to not only improve the efficiency and the reliability in our hobby, but also to significantly enhance the equipment and immersion of the hobby by adding new dynamic and interactive elements. I had this discussion with my daughter after she generated the list for us, and there's another element that AI hasn't even touched on, and that's the joy of being in the hobby and the joy that we get out of making things and creating things. I don't know how much AI will impact that. I don't know how AI would basically take that creativity maybe out of our hands. But I enjoy that part of the hobby more than anything. So that's the reason why I'm kind of lukewarm about AI right now. And the bottom line is we're just going to have to wait and see. Whether AI will be completely embraced, fully embraced by our generation of modelers, I don't know. But down the road, I think it might have a significant role in the way the hobby rolls out. And again, we're going to have to wait and see just how that goes. So that's all I have to say right now. I wanted mainly to introduce it to everybody so that they would start to think about it, maybe start to formulate some ideas, maybe do a little more research. But the chat GBT really goes out there and, can fill in the gaps for us. So I'll answer any questions that anybody has right now, but we'll see where it takes us.
Anybody have any questions for Bob? Well, let me throw this out to you, Bob, and maybe you can ask your daughter. I don't know whether you can answer it or not. But if I told you that I think in 3 to 5 years, I can walk in a room and say, machine, produce me a car that looks like this, that is in this scale, and blah, blah, blah. And AI can do it. They'll draw it up. They'll send it to my printer. My printer will do it in a rosin. And in a few hours, I can walk over to the printer and pull out that finished car, maybe paint it, maybe put some wheels and couplers on it and put it on the track.
I think that possible. I think we could probably go now to AI and ask it to generate the drawing. I think we'd have to do a little bit of work in order to get it over to the printer and make sure that the printer doesn't crash on us. But I think all that's possible, Jim, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. And if we get to that point, to me, that is going to impact the creativity of modeling. And it is going to definitely impact the modeling and the use of our hands in modeling, if nothing more than that. So I may be crazy, but I think it's going to depend on how fast this occurs. It's going to primarily depend on how many younger people we get involved in model railroading.
I agree with that.
I think they're going to drive this. I don't think that people my age are going to drive this. I think it's going to be the younger modelers. And I think that AI could be the way to entice younger modelers into our hobby.
Yeah, I agree. And I really think that, the softer side of the hobby, the software, the people that are playing with the 3D printers, people that are doing work with Arduinos, that's where we're going to see a lot of the young people be enticed into the hobby. I really do.
Bob, I can't thank you enough for doing this for us tonight, and I look forward to the next time that you're here to talk about another subject. But thank you
Yep, we're
so
gonna,
very much for doing
yep,
this.
yep, we're going to talk about, I was telling Jim earlier, we're going to do 3D printing in two parts. The first part is going to be not the theory of 3D printing, but a little bit of background about how it came to be and some of the equipment that's sitting out there. And then the second show, which will be a couple weeks down the road, um, I'm going to show a lot of the more practical applications of 3D printing and what I've been able to do. But I also invite, I know I talked with Earl and Phil mentioned it too. Anybody that's got any 3D printing pieces that they've made for our model railroading or anything in general, let's bring that in. Matter of fact, that might be a good thing to talk about on the my build on the 17th.
I would agree. I think that kind of thing is exactly what I'm hoping the My Build is going to be, combined with the new products that the small manufacturers are coming out with. I think that would be an opportunity for them to show off their new models.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much, Bob. We're really looking forward to it. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and hope you have a great New Year.
I was sick the entire time, believe it or not.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm glad you got well enough to be here tonight.
Today's kind of the first day that I'm out of bed for a week and a half. So
Jeez. Thanks so much.
thank you.